Admiral Zexkar stood in the Liberty's observation lounge, looking out at his own fleet through the large windows. The Vorthak ships looked different to him now. They seemed old and clumsy compared to the elegant human vessel he was standing. Inside, "Admiral," Captain Morrison said as he joined him at the window, "what will you tell your government about us?" Zexkar was quiet for a long moment. His entire understanding of galactic politics had changed in the past few hours. The humans were not the ancient threat returning to conquer the galaxy. They were something much more dangerous to the established order. They were the future. "I will tell them the truth," Zexkar said finally, "that humanity represents change itself, and that we must choose to embrace that change or be left behind by it." Morrison nodded. Change can be frightening, but it can also bring wonderful possibilities. Through the window, they could see human and alien crew members working together in the ship's external maintenance areas. The sight would have been impossible just hours earlier. Now it seemed natural. Dr. Sandra Kim approached them with a data pad in her hands. "Captain Admiral, I have prepared a proposal that might interest both of your governments." She activated the pad and showed them a holographic display of the local star system. Several planets appeared in the projection, including the human colony world below. "Instead of conflict," Kim said, "we propose cooperation. Humanity will establish a joint research station in this system. We will share our technological improvements freely with any species that wants to learn." Admiral Zexkar studied the proposal carefully. "What do you want in return?" "Cultural exchange," Morrison replied. "We want to learn from other species just as much as we want to teach. Every alien culture has unique perspectives that could help humanity grow." The idea was revolutionary. In galactic history, advanced technology was always kept secret. Species guarded their scientific discoveries jealously and used them for military or economic advantage. But humans were offering to give away their greatest assets freely. "Your government will never approve this," Zexkar said. "No species shares their best technology with potential enemies." "We do not see other species as enemies," Morrison replied. "We see them as future friends and partners. Enemies are created by fear and misunderstanding. Partners are created by trust and cooperation." Psychology officer Tony Martinez joined their conversation. He had been studying Admiral Zexkar's behavior throughout the visit and had some insights to share. "Admiral," Martinez said, "your species values stability and tradition. You see rapid change as dangerous because it threatens the order you have built over centuries." Zexkar nodded. This was exactly how he felt. "But consider this," Martinez continued. "Humans also value stability. We just define it differently. For us, stability comes from our ability to adapt and grow. We find security in change rather than in staying the same." This was a perspective that Zexkar had never considered. Perhaps different species could define the same concepts in completely different ways. Maybe humanity's rapid advancement was not chaotic destruction, but rather a different form of order. Chief Engineer Santos joined them in the observation lounge with exciting news. "Captain, we have just received a message from Earth Command. 3 more nations have requested permission to send research teams to study our quantum drive technology." "Which nations?" Morrison asked. "The Andorian Science Council, the Centauri Trade Federation, and surprisingly, the Klingon Military Academy," Santos replied with a smile. Admiral Zexkar was shocked. "The Klingons are your enemies. Why would you share technology with them?" "Because sharing knowledge makes everyone stronger," Morrison explained. "When the Klingons have better technology, they can defend themselves against real threats like pirates and hostile aliens. This makes the galaxy safer for everyone." The concept of helping your enemies become stronger seemed insane to Vorthak military thinking. But as Zexkar thought about it more, he began to see the logic. Strong allies were more useful than weak enemies. Colonel Frank Hunter arrived with a security report. Captain Admiral, I have good news. My team has been in communication with Vorthak security officers. They are very interested in our non-lethal restraint technologies. Non-lethal? Zexkar asked. Our security forces prefer to capture rather than kill, Hunter explained. We have developed weapons that can stop attackers without causing permanent harm. Many galactic police forces could benefit from these tools. This was another example of human thinking that surprised the Admiral. Most species developed more efficient ways to kill their enemies. Humans developed more efficient ways to stop conflicts without killing anyone. Communications Officer Danny Rodriguez approached their group with an urgent message. Captain, we are receiving transmissions from 12 different star systems. Word about our meeting is spreading quickly through galactic communication networks. Morrison looked concerned. What kind of reactions are we getting? Mixed, sir, Rodriguez replied. Some species are demanding that we share our technology immediately. Others are calling for military action against us, but most seem curious rather than hostile. Admiral Zexkar realized that this moment would be remembered throughout galactic history. The first peaceful contact between humanity and a major galactic power. The outcome of their meeting would influence how hundreds of other species responded to human expansion. Captain Morrison, Zexkar said formally, I would like to make an official proposal on behalf of the Vorthak Empire. Morrison nodded. We are listening, Admiral. My government sent me here to destroy you, Zexkar said honestly, but I have learned that destroying humanity would be the greatest mistake in galactic history. Instead, I propose a formal alliance between our species. The bridge crew stopped their work to listen to this historic moment. Even the children in the school sections gathered around their teachers to hear the announcement over the ship's communication system. The Vorthak Empire will provide military protection for human colonies, Zexkar continued. In exchange, humanity will establish research centers in Vorthak space and share technological improvements with our scientists. Morrison extended his hand in the traditional human gesture of agreement. Admiral, you have a deal. The two leaders shook hands while their crews watched in amazement. Hours earlier, they had been preparing for war. Now they were planning a partnership that would change the galaxy forever. Dr. Kim began making arrangements for the joint research station immediately. We can have the first facility operational within 6 months, she reported. The research will focus on medical technology, environmental protection, and space exploration. Over the following weeks, the news of the Human Vorthak Alliance spread throughout known space. Other species watched carefully to see how the partnership would develop. Many began sending their own diplomatic missions to negotiate similar agreements. The USS Liberty became the most famous ship in the galaxy as it traveled from system to system, establishing new research partnerships and cultural exchanges. Captain Morrison found himself appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador, a position that did not exist until humans created the need for it. Admiral Zexkar returned to Vorthak space as a hero rather than a failure. His government initially questioned his decision to ally with humanity instead of destroying them. But when human technology began solving problems that Vorthak science had struggled with for centuries, all criticism disappeared. The joint research station became a model for cooperation that other species rushed to copy. Within 2 years, there were human research partnerships in over 50 star systems. Each partnership brought new discoveries and innovations that benefited everyone involved. But the most important change was not technological. It was cultural. Humanity had introduced the galaxy to a new way of thinking about problems, relationships, and the future. Instead of competing for limited resources, species began collaborating to create unlimited possibilities. Years later, historians would mark the meeting between Morrison and Zexkar as the beginning of the Galactic Renaissance. It was the moment when an ancient galaxy learned to grow young again, guided by a species that saw every challenge as an opportunity and every stranger as a potential friend. The human colony below continued to grow and thrive, but now it hosted visitors from dozens of worlds. Children of many species played together in the same schools where they learned that differences in appearance were far less important than similarities in dreams. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, other young species looked up at the stars and dared to imagine that they too might someday join this grand community of explorers, innovators, and friends. Admiral Zexkar stared at the carved moon for several long minutes without speaking. His bridge crew waited nervously for orders that did not come. The Admiral's 4 eyes moved constantly between the human ship and the artistic pattern now permanently etched into the lunar surface. "Sir," Commander Yithmol said quietly, "what are your orders?" Zexkar did not answer immediately. He was thinking about the implications of what he had just witnessed. The humans had turned his attack into a source of power. Then they had used that power to reshape a moon like a piece of clay. The display of casual technological superiority was more intimidating than any threat. "Open a channel to the human ship," he finally ordered. Captain Morrison's calm face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, his crew continued their normal duties as if nothing unusual had happened. Children's laughter could be heard faintly in the background from the ship's school section. "Admiral," Morrison said politely, "I hope our demonstration was helpful. We want to avoid any further misunderstandings." "You call that a demonstration?" Zexkar asked. "You reshaped a celestial body just to make a point." Morrison smiled. "That was our mining equipment running at about 10% power. We use those. Tools for asteroid processing and construction work. Would you like to see what our actual defensive systems can do?" The threat was delivered so casually that it took Zexkar a moment to realize what Morrison had said. The moon carving had been done with mining tools, not weapons. The human ship apparently had defensive systems that were far more powerful. "What do you want from us?" Zexkar asked. "Conversation," Morrison replied. "We would like to understand why you brought a fleet to our peaceful colony. We would also like to explain our intentions to avoid future conflicts." Dr. Melthara leaned close to Admiral Zexkar and whispered urgently, "Sir, this could be a trap. They may be trying to get you onto their ship to capture or study you." Zexkar considered this possibility. But what would be the point? If the humans wanted to capture him, they could probably do it easily. Their technology seemed capable of anything. "Very well," Zexkar said. "I will come aboard your vessel for talks." On the Liberty, Captain Morrison turned to his security chief. "Colonel Hunter, prepare the diplomatic suite. We will have a very nervous alien admiral coming aboard soon." Colonel Frank Hunter nodded and activated his communication system. "All security teams, stand down to condition yellow. We have a diplomatic visitor coming. I want everyone to look professional but not threatening." In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Sandra Kim prepared for their alien guest. As the ship's xenobiologist, she knew Vorthak physiology and psychology. The Admiral would be extremely stressed and probably expecting to die at any moment. "Captain," she said over the intercom, "I recommend keeping the meeting short. Admiral Zexkar's species becomes very agitated under extreme stress. Too much exposure to our technology might cause him to panic completely." Morrison understood. The goal was to calm the situation, not make it worse. "Very well, Doctor. We will keep this brief and simple." 20 minutes later, Admiral Zexkar materialized in the Liberty's transporter room. The experience was his first shock. Galactic standard transporters required massive amounts of energy and complex calculations. Moving a living being from one ship to another usually took hours of preparation. The human transporter had moved him instantly, with no apparent effort at all. The technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic. Captain Morrison was waiting in the transporter room with a small group of officers. The humans looked relaxed and friendly. They wore simple uniforms without excessive decoration or weapons. This was not what Zexkar had expected from a warrior species. "Welcome aboard the Liberty, Admiral," Morrison said with a genuine smile. "Would you like a tour of our ship?" Zexkar was surprised by the offer. Military vessels were usually classified. Allowing an enemy to see your ship's interior was a serious security risk. Either the humans were very trusting, or they were completely confident in their superiority. "I would be honored," Zexkar replied carefully. The tour that followed shattered many of the Admiral's assumptions about humanity. The ship's corridors were wide and bright. Art hung on the walls, and music played softly from hidden speakers. The crew moved with purpose, but without military rigidity. "Your people seem very relaxed for a warship crew," Zexkar observed. "This is not really a warship," Morrison explained. "The Liberty is a colony ship with some defensive capabilities. Most of our people are civilians." They passed a large window that looked into a classroom. Alien and human children sat together while a teacher explained basic mathematics. The young ones laughed and played during their lesson breaks. "Your ship carries families?" Zexkar asked in amazement. "Of course," Morrison replied. "We learned long ago that maintaining our humanity is more important than pure military efficiency. Our ships are not just vessels of war. They are extensions of our communities." This concept was completely foreign to Vorthak military thinking. Their warships carried only soldiers and support staff. The idea of bringing children into potentially dangerous situations seemed insane. But as they continued the tour, Zexkar began to understand. The families were not a weakness. They were a source of strength. The human crew fought harder because they were protecting their loved ones. They worked better because they were building a future for their children. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Maria Santos explained their technology with enthusiasm that crossed all species barriers. Her excitement was infectious as she showed Zexkar the fusion reactors and quantum drive systems. "We do not see technology as magic," she explained. "Every improvement, every innovation is just another step in understanding how the universe works." Santos showed him holographic displays of human technological development. Each advancement built on previous discoveries. Each improvement led to new possibilities. The progress was steady and logical, even though it happened very quickly. "But how do you advance so fast?" Zexkar asked. "We ask questions," Santos replied simply. "When we find something that works, we immediately ask how to make it work better. When we find something broken, we ask how to fix it permanently." The Admiral thought about this. Most alien species found a working solution and kept using it forever. They were afraid to change things that already functioned, but humans seemed to view every problem as an opportunity for improvement. Dr. Sandra Kim joined them in the engineering section. She had been studying Vorthak culture and had prepared information specifically for their visitor. "Admiral," she said, "we understand that our rapid development seems suspicious to other species, but there is no secret conspiracy or ancient technology. We simply think differently about problems." "How so?" Zexkar asked. "Most species see a machine and ask how to use it correctly," Kim explained. "Humans see a machine and ask how to make it better. This difference in thinking leads to exponential improvement over time." Kim showed him examples from human history. Humans had taken the simple wheel and developed it into complex vehicles. They had taken basic fire and created advanced metallurgy. Each generation improved on the work of previous generations. "But this means your technological growth will continue accelerating," Zexkar realized with growing alarm. "Yes," Morrison said honestly. "But growth is not the same as aggression. We advance our technology to solve problems and improve life, not to conquer others." The Admiral was beginning to understand that humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that combined rapid technological advancement with genuine peaceful intentions. They could become the galaxy's greatest threat or its greatest ally. What do you want from the galaxy? Zexkar asked directly. Morrison considered the question carefully before answering. We want to learn, to explore, and to help others solve problems. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. And if others try to stop you, Morrison's expression became serious for the first time. Then we will defend ourselves. But we prefer cooperation to conflict. War destroys the very diversity that makes the universe worth exploring. Admiral Zexkar realized that his mission had become much more complicated than anyone had anticipated. Humanity was not a threat to be eliminated. They were a force of change that would reshape the entire galaxy, whether others wanted it or not. The question was whether that change would come through cooperation or conquest, and that choice, the Admiral was beginning to understand, would depend largely on how the galaxy chose to treat humanity. Captain Morrison stood calmly on the bridge of the USS Liberty as his ship moved closer to the Vorthak fleet. Through the main window, he could see the alien ships spread out like a dark cloud against the stars. Each ship bristled with weapons that could destroy entire cities. "All stop," Morrison commanded. The Liberty came to a smooth halt just outside weapons range of the alien fleet. The ship's advanced dampening systems made the stop so gentle that nobody felt any movement at all. Children in the ship's school continued their lessons without even knowing they had stopped. "Distance to the alien flagship?" Morrison asked. 50,000 kilometers, sir," replied Navigation Officer Tim Chen. "We are just outside their main weapon range." Admiral Zexkar watched the human ship through his sensors with growing unease. Every scan revealed new impossibilities that made no sense to his understanding of physics and engineering. The ship's hull seemed to be made of materials that his computer said could not exist. "Commander Yithmol," Zexkar said to his weapons officer, "what do you see?" "Sir, I cannot detect any conventional weapons," Yithmol replied, studying his displays. "No plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no particle beam arrays, but the energy readings are enormous." "Perhaps the entire vessel is a weapon," suggested Dr. Melthara from her science station. "Some kind of directed energy device that we cannot understand." This thought made Admiral Zexkar even more nervous. A ship with no visible weapons might have weapons so advanced that his sensors could not detect them. The humans might be able to destroy his entire fleet without him even seeing how they did it. In the engineering section of the Liberty, Chief Engineer Maria Santos monitored her instruments with satisfaction. The experimental metamaterial hull was working perfectly. It automatically changed its molecular structure to confuse alien scanners trying to examine the ship. To the Vorthak sensors, the Liberty appeared to be an incomprehensible mix of impossible materials and unknown energy patterns. The hull shifted constantly between different configurations, each one designed to deflect or mislead scanning attempts. "All systems operating normally," Santos reported to the bridge. "The adaptive hull is performing beyond our best estimates." Science. "Officer Clark," Morrison said, "what can you tell me about the alien fleet?" Ryan Clark studied his displays carefully. "I am detecting massive energy buildups across their formation, Captain. Multiple ships are charging their main weapons. It looks like they are preparing to fire." Morrison nodded but remained calm. He had expected this reaction. The aliens were scared, and scared people often made poor decisions. His job was to show them they had nothing to fear from humanity. "Communications," Morrison said to Danny Rodriguez. "Open a channel to the entire alien fleet. Send them our standard first contact package." Rodriguez activated the communication system and began transmitting. But instead of a simple audio message, the Liberty sent a complex data package containing mathematical proofs, scientific principles, and detailed cultural information about humanity. Most surprising of all, the package included specifications for several Vorthak technologies. But these were not simple copies. They were improvements that showed efficiency gains the aliens had never imagined possible. Admiral Zexkar stared at his communication screen in shock as the data arrived. His science teams immediately began analyzing the information, and what they found defied all logic. "Sir," Dr. Melthera said in a whisper, "they know about our quantum processors, but these modifications would increase computing power by 400%. "How is that possible?" Zexkar demanded. "I do not know, sir. Our best engineers have worked on these designs for decades. The humans have solved problems we did not even know existed." The Admiral felt his confidence cracking. How could a young species understand Vorthak technology better than the Vorthak themselves? It was like a child teaching mathematics to an ancient professor. Commander Yithmol looked up from his weapons console with confusion. "Admiral, they are also sending us improved designs for our defensive systems. Shield efficiency could be increased by 300% using their modifications." This was the moment when Admiral Zexkar made a critical error in judgment. Convinced that the human vessel was somehow testing his defenses and trying to trick him into lowering his guard, he decided to show them the power of the Vorthak Empire. "Fire a warning shot," he ordered. "Use the main cannon at half power. Show them we are not impressed by their technological tricks." Commander Yithmol hesitated. "Sir, a warning shot could be seen as an act of war." "Do it," Zexkar commanded. The flagship's primary energy cannon charged with a whining sound that filled the bridge. The weapon was capable of destroying small asteroids and could punch through the heaviest battle armor known to galactic science. Even at half power, it carried enough energy to cripple most warships. The brilliant beam of plasma energy crossed the space between the fleets in seconds and struck the Liberty's forward shields. The crew on both ships watched in amazement as the energy simply vanished. The human ship did not even slow down. "Energy absorption at 100%, Lieutenant," Commander Parker reported with barely hidden amazement. "The adaptive shielding is working better than our most optimistic projections." What the Vorthak fleet could not know was that the Liberty's shields were based on captured pirate technology that human engineers had completely redesigned. The shields did not just block energy attacks. They absorbed the energy and fed it back into the ship's power grid. The alien weapon had actually made the Liberty stronger. Captain Morrison turned to face the main screen, where Admiral Zexkar's shocked face was still visible. "Admiral," Morrison said politely, "was that supposed to be a threat? Our shields interpreted it as a power donation. Thank you for the extra energy." Admiral Zexkar felt his heart stop beating for a moment. His most powerful weapon had been absorbed like water into sand. The human ship had not even bothered to dodge or raise additional defenses. "Impossible," he whispered. But Morrison was not finished with his demonstration. He turned to his science officer and nodded. "Mr. Clark, please show our guests what we can do with their generous energy gift." Ryan Clark activated the ship's experimental defensive systems. Suddenly, holographic displays appeared around every ship in the Vorthak fleet. Each display showed detailed information about that specific vessel, including weapon locations, shield frequencies, crew numbers, and structural weak points. "As you can see," Morrison said to the alien admiral, "we know exactly where you are and exactly how to defeat you if necessary, but we prefer cooperation to conflict." The message was clear without being threatening. Humanity could destroy the entire alien fleet if they wanted to, but they chose not to. This was more terrifying to Admiral Zexkar than any direct threat could have been. But the real shock came when Chief Engineer Santos activated the Liberty's mining laser array. These tools were designed for processing asteroids and preparing construction materials. But to demonstrate human capabilities, Santos aimed them at a small moon near the edge of the system. The brilliant cutting beams carved a perfect geometric pattern into the moon's surface. The design was visible to every ship in the system and showed mathematical precision that required incredible power and control. Colonel Frank Hunter, the Liberty's Marine commander, watched the demonstration from the security center. His soldiers were ready for possible fighting, but he hoped diplomacy would work instead. The men and women under his command wore powered armor that made them look superhuman to most alien species. But Hunter knew that their greatest weapon was not their equipment. It was their training, their discipline, and their commitment to protecting innocent people. The Liberty carried families and children. If fighting started, his job was to keep them safe. Admiral Zexakar stared at the carved moon and felt something he had never experienced before in 40 years of military service: complete helplessness. The humans had reshaped a celestial body just to make a point. If they could carve artistic patterns into moons, what could they do to his ships? "Sir," Commander Yithmol said quietly, "recommend we request immediate reinforcements from the home fleet." "What good would more ships do?" Zexakar replied. "If 300 vessels cannot threaten them, 3,000 will not make a difference." The Admiral realized he was facing something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had developed from primitive spaceflight to godlike technology in mere decades. Their ship had absorbed his most powerful weapon and turned it into art supplies. Worst of all, they seemed genuinely peaceful. They could have destroyed his fleet in the first moments of contact. Instead, they offered knowledge and cooperation. This was either the greatest military deception in history or humanity, represented something entirely new in the galaxy. Either way, Admiral Zexakar knew his mission had failed before it truly began. 3 days before the meeting with the Vorthak fleet, Ambassador Helen Carter sat in her office on the human diplomatic station. The station orbited the red star Proxima Centauri, where humans had built their first home outside the solar system. She was drinking her morning coffee and reading reports when the emergency alarm started ringing. "Ambassador," called her assistant, Lieutenant Peter Brooks, "we have an urgent message from Earth Command." Helen put down her coffee cup and activated the secure communication system. The face of Admiral Nancy Foster appeared on the screen. The Admiral looked worried and tired. "Helen, we have a serious problem," Admiral Foster said. "The Vorthak Empire has declared humanity a Category 7 extinction threat. They are sending a fleet to stop what they call the human expansion virus." Helen felt her heart sink. Category 7 was the highest threat level in galactic law. It meant complete destruction of the entire species. Only 3 other races in galactic history had ever received this classification. "What did we do wrong?" Helen asked. "Nothing," Admiral Foster replied. "That is the problem. They think we are advancing too fast. 50 years ago, we could barely reach our own moon. Now we have colonies in 12 star systems. They believe we must have found ancient alien technology or made a deal with hostile powers. The truth was much simpler but harder to explain. Humans were just very good at making things better. When they found alien technology, they studied it carefully. Then they found ways to improve it that the original builders never thought of." Dr. Kevin Walsh had tried to explain this to the Galactic Council 2 weeks earlier. He stood before hundreds of alien representatives in the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Kepler Prime. "We call it the Quantum Tunnel Drive," Dr. Walsh had said, showing holographic displays of human ships. "It is based on theoretical work done by human scientists in the early 21st century. The alien delegates had listened politely, but many looked confused or suspicious. How could a young species develop technology that surpassed their own in just a few decades? What Dr. Walsh did not tell them was the complete truth. The quantum tunnel drive was indeed based on human theory, but it also used parts from a broken alien ship that human miners had found floating in an asteroid belt. The ship was old and damaged, but human engineers had studied every piece. Where the original builders saw a fusion reactor, humans saw a way to make it produce 3 times more power. Where aliens saw a navigation computer, humans saw a way to calculate jump routes that were twice as fast. This was not stealing technology. This was making it better. The problem was that other alien races did not think this way. When they found old technology, they copied it exactly. They were afraid to change anything in case they broke it. But humans saw every machine as a puzzle to solve and improve. Captain Morrison had received his mission orders while the Liberty was still being built in the orbital shipyards above Earth. The orders were simple, but difficult. He had to show the galaxy that humans were peaceful. At the same time, he had to prove that humans were not weak. "It is a careful balance," General Robert Hayes had told him during the briefing. "We cannot appear aggressive, but we also cannot appear helpless. The galaxy respects strength, but fears conquest." The USS Liberty was perfect for this mission. It looked like a warship to alien sensors, but it was actually designed for families and long-term exploration. The ship carried 3,000 people, including children, teachers, artists, and scientists. Only 200 were military personnel. Morrison remembered watching the ship take shape in the construction yards. The hull was made from metamaterials that could change their properties. One moment they could be harder than diamond, the next moment they could be as flexible as rubber. The aliens had never seen anything like it. The engines used a combination of human fusion technology and improved alien gravity manipulation. The result was a drive system that could travel between stars in days instead of months. No other ship in the galaxy could match their speed, but the most impressive feature was the ship's artificial intelligence. Unlike alien computers, which followed strict programming, the Liberty's AI could learn and adapt. It studied every situation and found new solutions to old problems. Admiral Zexkar did not understand any of this as he watched the human ship through his sensors. To him, the Liberty was an impossible contradiction. It showed no weapons, but radiated enormous power. It looked peaceful, but used technology beyond galactic understanding. "Sir," said his intelligence officer, Commander Thekval, "our files show that humans achieved spaceflight only 68 years ago. Their first interstellar ship was launched just 52 years ago. These development rates are unprecedented." "Show me their progression," Zexkar ordered. The holographic display showed human technological advancement over time. The graph looked like a steep mountain. Where other species took thousands of years to advance from chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel, humans had done it in less than a century. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Mel Thara. "No species can advance this quickly without outside help. Unless," said Commander Yithmol slowly, "they are not really advancing. What if they are remembering? What if humans are not a young species, but an old one returning to power?" This idea terrified the Vorthak officers. The ancient legends spoke of a race that could build anything and go anywhere. They had vanished long ago, but the stories said they would return when the galaxy needed them most, or when it needed to be conquered. Back on the Liberty, Captain Morrison was reading the same intelligence reports. He knew exactly what the aliens were thinking. Human diplomats had heard the whispers and rumors spreading through alien spaceports and communication networks. "They think we are the old ones returning," he told his senior officers during their morning briefing. "Or they think we found their technology." "Should we tell them the truth?" asked Lieutenant Commander Parker. "The truth is harder to believe than their theories," replied Morrison. "How do we explain that humans just see problems differently? How do we tell them that our greatest weapon is curiosity?" Chief Engineer Santos joined the meeting through video link from the engine room. Behind her, human technicians worked alongside alien exchange students who were learning human methods. "Captain," she said, "the Andorian student asked me an interesting question yesterday. He wanted to know why we change everything instead of just copying it. I told him that copying is how you stay the same. Changing is how you grow." Morrison nodded. That was the heart of the misunderstanding. Most alien species valued stability and tradition. They built something once and used it forever. Humans built something, then immediately started thinking of ways to make it better. The result was exponential growth that looked impossible to outside observers. Each improvement led to new discoveries. Each discovery led to better improvements. The cycle moved faster and faster until human technology advanced at rates that seemed magical. But there was nothing magical about it. It was just human nature applied to engineering and science. The same curiosity that had once driven humans to explore every corner of their home planet now drove them to explore every possibility of alien technology. As the Liberty approached the Vorthak fleet, Morrison knew that the next few hours would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. Success would mean acceptance and cooperation. Failure would mean war against powers that had ruled space for millennia. The stage was set for a confrontation that neither side fully understood. Admiral Zexkar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Eternal Dominion. His 4 eyes stared at the glowing screen in front of him. The numbers on the display made no sense at all. Something was wrong with their sensors. "Run the scan, again," he ordered his crew. His voice carried across the silent bridge where 200 alien officers worked at their stations. Lieutenant Commander Velthar touched the controls with his long tentacles. The scanner hummed and beeped as it searched space around the human colony world. After a few minutes, the same impossible readings appeared on the screen again. "Sir, the readings are the same," Velthar said quietly. "The ship measures 12 kilometers long. Its mass is like a small moon. The energy coming from it is stronger than our biggest space stations." Zexkar felt his heart beating faster. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The Vorthak Empire ruled over 300 star systems. Their fleet was the strongest in the galaxy. Nothing should be more powerful than their ships, the human colony. Below them was new and small. Only 50,000 humans lived there in simple buildings. They grew food and mined basic metals. Earth's records showed they had no military ships in this system. Yet here was something that made their greatest battleship look like a toy. "Could it be an ancient weapon?" asked Commander Yithmol from the weapon station. "Maybe the humans found something left behind by the old ones." Zexkar shook his massive head. "The old ones had vanished millions of years ago." Their technology was far beyond anything the current galaxy could build. But those ancient machines were rare and usually broken. This ship showed full power and perfect operation. Far below the alien fleet, Captain Jake Morrison walked onto the bridge of the USS Liberty. His crew looked calm and ready as always. The ship around them hummed with quiet power. Soft lights lit the clean hallways and comfortable rooms where families lived and worked together. "Good morning, Captain," said his first officer, Lieutenant, Commander Lisa Parker. She handed him a cup of coffee and a data pad with the daily reports. Morrison sipped his coffee and looked at the main screen. It showed the Vorthak fleet hanging in space above them like dark clouds. 300 alien ships surrounded their position. Each one carried enough weapons to destroy a city. "Any word from them yet?" Morrison asked. "They keep sending surrender." "Demands," said Communications Officer Danny Rodriguez. "They want us to power down and prepare to be boarded. They think we are some kind of superweapon." Morrison almost laughed. The Liberty was impressive, but it was not a weapon of war. It was a colony ship with some new technology. The humans inside included teachers, doctors, engineers, and children. They had come here to build a new home, not fight battles. "What do our sensors tell us about their fleet?" Morrison asked his science officer. "Standard Vorthak design," replied Science Officer Ryan Clark. "Plasma cannons, energy shields, fusion reactors. Nothing we have not seen before. Their flagship is big, but old technology." The truth was that human science had advanced very quickly in the past 50 years. When humanity first met aliens, their ships were slow and weak. The galactic powers thought humans would never be important. They were wrong. Human engineers had looked at alien technology and found ways to make it better. They built new engines that could travel faster than anything else in space. They created shields that could stop any weapon. They designed hulls from materials that seemed impossible to alien science. But humans did not build these things for war. They built them to explore, to learn, and to make life better for everyone. Admiral Zexkar watched the human ship with growing fear. His scanners could not understand what they were seeing. The hull seemed to change as they watched it. Sometimes it looked like metal, sometimes like energy, sometimes like nothing at all. "Sir," said his science officer, Dr. Melthara, "I cannot identify the materials in that ship. My computer says they do not exist." "What about weapons?" Zexkar asked. "I see no plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no energy projectors," Melthara replied. "But the whole ship radiates power. Maybe the entire vessel is one giant weapon." This made Zexkar even more worried. A ship with no visible weapons might have weapons too advanced for their sensors to detect. The humans might be able to destroy his entire fleet without him even seeing how they did it. On the Liberty, Chief Engineer Maria Santos checked her instruments in the engine room. Everything worked perfectly. The new quantum drives ran so smoothly they made almost no sound. The adaptive hull materials shifted constantly to confuse enemy scanners. The fusion reactors produced more energy than the ship could ever use. "All systems green," she reported to the bridge. "We could run like this for 100 years without stopping." Captain Morrison nodded. The Liberty represented the best of human engineering, but it also represented human values. The ship carried art, galleries, schools, gardens, and homes. It was a piece of Earth traveling among the stars. "Sir," said Danny Rodriguez, "the alien fleet commander is requesting direct communication." "Put him through," Morrison replied. The main screen changed to show Admiral Zexkar on his bridge. The alien looked nervous despite his impressive size and military decorations. His four eyes moved constantly as if looking for hidden threats. "Human vessel," Zexkar said in careful English. "You will power down your weapons and surrender immediately. Any resistance will be met with total destruction." Morrison smiled politely. "Admiral, we have no weapons to power down. We are a civilian colony ship on a peaceful mission. There seems to be some misunderstanding." "Impossible," Zexkar replied. "Our sensors detect massive power levels and unknown technology. No civilian ship could generate such readings." "Perhaps your sensors need recalibration," Morrison suggested. "We would be happy to share our technical specifications to clear up any confusion." This offer shocked the alien admiral. No military force ever shared their technology with potential enemies. Either the humans were incredibly foolish, or they were so confident in their power that they did not fear any threat. Zexkar ended the communication and turned to his officers. "Ready all weapons," he ordered. "If they will not surrender, we will destroy them before they can attack us." But deep inside, the Admiral wondered if his 300 ships would be enough to stop whatever the humans had built. The readings made no sense. The calm confidence of their captain worried him more than any threat could have. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of galactic power. But neither side yet understood what would really happen when human innovation met alien fear.